For the past 7 days, I have lived a life completely devoid of caffeine. I embarked on this journey thinking I would emerge as one of those glowing, hydrated people who wake up at 5:30 a.m. to journal about gratitude. Instead, I discovered a dark, horrifying truth about myself. Apparently, my personality was 70% caffeine, 20% sarcasm, and 10% oat milk. And without coffee, my personality became 60% sarcasm, 30% exhaustion, and 10% trying not to bite people. Before we get into the tragedy of the last week, you need to understand my baseline. I didn't just like coffee. Coffee was my co-parent. It was my therapist, my life coach, and the only reason I didn't commit minor felonies in morning traffic. My blood type was Arabica. I used to look at people who drank decaf the way you look at someone who requests the middle seat on a 12-hour flight. So why would I do this to myself? Why would I sever the only truly functional relationship in my life? Well, a few reasons. Pure, unadulterated hubris, mostly. I wanted to see if I could. But there were practical reasons, too. First, the insomnia. I have spent the last 3 months staring at my ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering why my heart is vibrating like a Nokia cell phone from 2004. Turns out a 4 p.m. cold brew is not a fun afternoon treat. It is a chemical weapon. Second, my waistline. You see, I have a rule. You cannot drink a cappuccino by itself. It's scientifically unstable. It requires an anchor. That anchor is usually a slice of lemon drizzle cake, a croissant, or a muffin the size of a human toddler. Coffee was just a socially acceptable Trojan horse for pastry. And finally, I realized I was entirely too dependent. I couldn't even look at my email inbox until I was halfway through my first cup. My brain would completely refuse to do basic math or string a professional sentence together unless it was flooded with stimulants. I was essentially outsourcing my work ethic to a bean. I wanted to be free. Let me walk you through the timeline of my physiological collapse. Day 1, arrogance. I woke up on Monday, drank a glass of ice water, and thought, this is fine. I am a strong, independent woman. I don't need a bean to dictate my joy. By 2 p.m., a dull, pulsing pain set up camp directly behind my left eye. It felt like a tiny construction worker was trying to renovate my frontal lobe with a spoon. I went to bed at 7:30 p.m. Day 2, the great slump. Day 2 is when the lethargy hit. I didn't just feel tired. I felt like my bones were made of wet sand. I tried to type an email to a client and just stared at the blinking cursor for 15 minutes. I eventually wrote, "Sounds good," and hit send. I don't even remember what I was replying to. It could have been a ransom note. Day 3, the climax of drama. This was the breaking point. This was the day I realized I am naturally, inherently, wildly dramatic. I walked past my local cafe. The smell of freshly roasted beans hit the street. I stopped dead in my tracks. I closed my eyes and just inhaled, looking like a weird creep smelling the air outside a bakery. I am not exaggerating when I tell you, by 3 p.m. on day 3, I would have sold a kidney on the black market for an iced latte. Not even a good one. A watery gas station iced latte would have made me a very happy lady. Okay, maybe I am exaggerating, but that's not the point. I caught a glimpse of myself in a shop window and I looked like a deflated balloon with dark circles. I realized then that I am not naturally a morning person. My upbeat attitude is purely because of coffee. Days 4 to 6. The hollow existence. The headache finally left, but it took my will to live with it. I existed in a state of beige. Food tasted boring. Conversations were tedious. Someone told me a joke at the office, and I just stared at them blankly for a few seconds and walked away. I didn't even fake a polite chuckle. I had reached caffeine nirvana, which is to say, I felt absolutely nothing. Day 7. The grim acceptance. By the final day, I woke up and I wasn't tired. I didn't have a headache. I just got out of bed. It wasn't magical. The birds weren't singing, but I was awake. I had survived. But as I sat on my couch, sipping a mug of hot, depressing water, I had to ask myself, at what cost? So was there any upside to this self-imposed torture? Actually, yes, and it pains me to admit it, because I spent 7 days physically unable to enter a coffee shop without crying. I stopped spending money, and because I had no caffeine to distract me, my brain suddenly had the capacity to understand compound interest. Let's do some girl math, as but the depressing kind. My usual order, an oat milk flat white, cost roughly $5.50. Add the inevitable emotional support pastry, $4. Total daily expenditure, $9.50. Let's say I do that 5 days a week because on weekends I make it at home. $9.50 times 5 is $47.50 a week. Multiply that by 52 weeks in a year. That is $2,470 a year. $2,470. I am funding the barista's retirement while my savings account looks like a sad charity bucket. Think about what an average office worker could do with an extra $2,470 a year. You could buy a used, slightly rusted Honda Civic. You could buy 247 extremely average bottles of wine. You could invest it in an index fund and eventually afford to buy an armchair to sit in while you cry about the economy. When you don't have caffeine in your system, the reality of capitalism hits you a lot harder. I was literally drinking my wealth. The 7 days are over. The experiment has concluded. Have I sworn off coffee forever? Absolutely not. I'm holding a lemon water right now purely for dramatic effect. I have a French press brewing in the kitchen as we speak, and I am vibrating with anticipation. But I am changing my relationship with it. If you are watching this, clutching a venti caramel macchiato and thinking you need to change your life, here are my 3 takeaways. Number 1. Never ever go cold turkey. Unless you have a cabin in the woods and no social obligations, do not just stop. Taper off, mix half calf, drink green tea. Do not subject your friends, your family, or your coworkers to your raw, unfiltered, uncaffeinated personality. It is a health hazard. Number 2, make your coffee at home. I know. We've all heard the financial bros tell us to stop buying latte so we can buy real estate. I hate to say it, but they have a point. Making it at home is incredibly economical. Plus, you know exactly what's going into it. No hidden syrups, no mysterious pumps of vanilla that contain 400 calories of pure fructose. Just coffee, water, and milk. My waistline and my wallet are finally in agreement. Number 3, the curfew rule. This is non-negotiable. No coffee after 12 p.m., high noon. That's it. Since I instituted the curfew, a miracle has occurred. When my head hits the pillow at 11 p.m., I actually fall asleep. I don't lie awake replaying an embarrassing thing I said in the 3rd grade. I just sleep, like a normal, functioning human being. Look, coffee is a beautiful thing, but it is a harsh mistress. Respect the bean. Do not let the bean control you. Make it at home, set a curfew, and for the love of everything, recognize that sometimes you're not actually hungry for a muffin. You're just looking for an excuse to drink more coffee. I'm going to go drink my French press now. My personality should return in approximately 15 minutes. If you enjoyed watching me suffer, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see me attempt to give up sugar, which I will probably fail at by day 2. Goodbye.